What's up, y'all? I'm going to try out a different type of series. For those of you who watch me on Twitch, you guys know that I fucking love Smite. Smite has become one of my all-time favorite games to play with friends and solo. I have dropped about 1,100 hours into this game in total. And I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it. And I feel like I've hit a point with certain characters where it's totally cool for me to be like, hey, as of this current build, this is how I like to build this character. This is what I recommend you build on him per my personal experience. And obviously it's totally okay if you guys feel entirely different on how you think you should build the god, or if you have different ways that you like to play them, or different ideas of what you think is a good build slash item for them. It's fine, it's totally fine. Everybody has a different playstyle, but if you guys know me, we're gonna start off with my boy, MERLIN. MERLIN is my all-time favorite mage to play to date, period. There are a lot of mages that I love to play, but if I really feel like I'm getting my shit rocked by sweaty tryhards, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna whip out the MERLIN and I'm going to go try hard mode myself with MERLIN. And because MERLIN is one of my all-time favorite gods to play, I'd like to give you guys an insight into my favorite build with MERLIN that I like to use personally for this current build with the way that the items are currently operating. So bear in mind, there's probably going to be videos where I update what I like to build on these gods, as either new items are added, things are nerfed, or maybe even characters are nerfed. So let's take a look at how I like to build MERLIN. We start off with Sands of Time. All right. Now, in my personal preference, I should say, with MERLIN is a lot of CDR. For those of you who don't know what CDR is, it is cooldown reduction. MERLIN has 3 different stances with his abilities. So he's got the Void stance, the Fire stance, and the Ice stance. And so his ultimate, not only does it cause damage at level 5, but he switches to these stances and cycles through his stances via his ultimate. So by putting a lot of cooldown on MERLIN, or at least maxing it out, if you see here, we've got Sands of Time, Staff of Mirrodin, and the Soul Gem. By the time that you've got these 3 items built, at least your cooldown is at about 30%. And then once you move Sands of Time to my preferred final item, the alternate timeline, your cooldown is gonna be maxed out and you're gonna be whipping off abilities like super fucking fast. You're gonna be dealing a lot of damage to enemies, and he hurts. He hurts once he's in the end game, as long as you know how to play him right. So you'll start off Sands of Time, you'll start off with the base item of Staff of Mirrodin, and the reason I chose this item is because once it's fully built, when you use your ultimate, it triggers the passive of this item, allowing you to have 8 seconds of decaying increased magical power, and it occurs once every 45 seconds. I think that's super fucking useful, especially because MERLIN is somebody who relies on using his ultimate to switch stances and immediately pop off other abilities. So you're immediately gonna get the benefits of this item right off the bat by using your ultimate and then following up with the increased power on the abilities. Then I went to Soul Gem because for me personally, 9 times out of 10, if I'm gonna build lifesteal, it's gonna be Soul Gem because I'm just somebody who likes cooldown on my gods. It's just how I like to fucking build them. Unless of course you're talking about like Hades or Anubis, in which case I'm building things like Bancroft's Talon or Typhon's Fang, shit like that. So this also adds cooldown as well. And it also provides a lifesteal benefit to your team, and if they're within a certain radius of you, that lifesteal benefit pops off to them and they're able to use a little bit of that lifesteal as well. Then I like to use the Rod of Tahuti, and I go into the, oh god, what is it? The Meteor Rod of Tahuti. Can't think of the name off the top of my head right now, but that one, Rod of Tahuti, already when enemies are low health, it increases the power of your attacks towards low health enemies. And then the 4th tier of this item basically causes a meteor to fucking come down and strike them as well. So it adds a little bit of damage. I just like it. It is what it is. Then we've got the Soul Reaver, which again adds another boost in how hard your magic abilities hit. It is something that I like to use to chunk because by the time you popped off about 2 or 3 abilities, you've chunked a good amount of life out of your enemies based off of how they built and whether or not they're like a guardian, a warrior, a hunter, an assassin, whatever. Then these 2 items are interchangeable. And then also based on the team composition, it will also determine how quickly you want to build these items. Sometimes if a team has about 2 different gods that do healing, I'll do a Divine Ruin first instead of the Staff of Mirrodin, just because you want to get that anti-heal online as quickly as possible to kind of help out with your team, especially being the mage where your abilities 9 times out of 10 hit multiple targets at once. So it's very, very useful to have that anti-heal out. Then Obsidian Shard is the other alternative in case you don't need to build anti-heal. This one gives you increased 10% penetration on the first ability cast, and this happens once every 10 seconds, I think it is, that this procs. I could be wrong on that. There is a cooldown on this item, so keep in mind it's not going to affect every ability if you're using it back to back, but it has a cooldown, but it's super useful. So that's basically how I like to build Merlin. And so I'd like to show you guys a bit of the damage that you can do in the training room. All right, so if you guys take a look in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see all the little stats we got going on. You see that my physical power is 181, magical power is at 585, and then obviously the defense stats are not really necessary because we're not building any type of defensive items on our character. So if you guys take a look, you'll see that as we go into fight just like a random NPC god, let's do like Guan Yu, for instance. We'll spawn him in. All right, so here's what's gonna happen. Okay, let's say we're gonna go up to Guan Yu. Ultimate, we're gonna hit him, and then he's gonna fucking just immediate, like pretty quick. Now, granted, it's not gonna be that simple all the time because, you know, enemies are gonna know how to kite and stuff like that. You've got tankier enemies like Ymir, for instance, that you could use. And then if you guys don't want to watch, that was embarrassing. Don't have any of my CCR right there. So we're gonna proc that in, boom. Look at that, just immediate death. Immediately fucking dead off of like 4 different abilities. And like I said, with Merlin, it's super useful to have it back to back to back like that. Just popping off, gives you a big boost in power, in my opinion. It's a lot of fun. So that's basically the way that I like to build Merlin. That's basically some of the benefits that you guys get from this build. I know it's nothing super crazy, but hopefully this build kind of gives you an idea of what kind of damage you're going to be outputting onto people. You can see like all this tick damage that you've got going on. You're gonna have just a whole lot of damage going on here. And Merlin is just one of my favorite gods because he really does get the ability to just fucking annihilate people with his abilities, and it's so great. I love it personally. So yeah. And now, since I've walked you guys through my build, please enjoy some footage of some fights and some matches where I'm just dishing out some Merlin damage. And if you guys have any questions on, you know, how to play Merlin, maybe a little more in depth, or ways to approach playing Merlin, or maybe there's some other gods you might want me to do a build on, because I'm going to try to get builds out on some of my favorite gods that I personally like to play. Let me know. I'll see what I can get done for you guys. But in the meantime, sit back and enjoy. And remember, if you guys don't want to build the gods this way, or Merlin this way specifically, or you think there's a better way to do it, let me know. I'm 100% open to hearing your builds and your ideas and ways that you think I can improve looking at how I build things as well. Because honestly, like, I love this game enough that I would like to understand how to play even better than I already do, because it's low-key a goal of mine to like be in the pro league. I know there's probably not a big old chance of that happening, and that's fine. I really don't mind if that's not the way that it's gonna go, but you know, I'm still gonna try. So anyways, let's get to some matches, shall we? All right, so funny enough, actually guys, I'm gonna switch up my build on you a little bit here. Granted, there was nothing wrong with the first build that I gave you guys, other than the fact that the Staff of Mirrodin you can't buy right away because the base item for it costs 900 gold. So you'll probably have to start off with Sand of Time, get a couple more gold, and then back if you want to buy the base item of that. And it was helpful in the beginning, but honestly, what I just discovered what I basically just discovered is that Book of Thoth. All right. You're still going to get some good cooldown. You're not going to get as much cooldown on this build as if you go with the Staff of Mirrodin starter. So if you want full cooldown, by all means, go for the Staff of Mirrodin starter. However, I have found that the amount of power and the amount of damage that I did with a fully stacked Book of Thoth, which also adds magical penetration percentage, is with those stacks. With these 6 items alone, even before getting to the alternate timeline, I was doing way more damage than normal. So that's something that you're actually going to see in some of the kill clips here, between the 2 matches that I played in arena. And so the first match is going to be the first build that I gave you guys. I think I only ended up with 5 kills that match. Now, granted, that team was pretty difficult because they had a pretty like decently put together team. Like they were operating pretty well together, as well as we had like one tank. We had a fucking Cthulhu who was picking fights on his own, not really waiting for us to be around. So things were falling apart pretty quickly. We still won that match. But then in the second match with this build, and I don't know if the team comp maybe made a little bit of a difference, but this build was just absolutely smacking as it was going on. So these are 2 really good builds that I personally really prefer to use. I think I've now become more partial to this build alone because this build fucked. But like I said, if you want full CDR with Merlin, you can do the Staff of Mirrodin if you want to get that little decaying ultimate bonus. Or honestly, you could even do a Spear of Desolation. Spear of Desolation is never a bad choice either, because that does add cooldown reduction as well, and it gives you a nice little magical power boost. But yeah. Go. Okay. Do you really want to, my guy? Thanks. Oh, that's what's up. Nice. There we go. Nice. Oh my god, daddy. Nice. Yeah, boy. There she goes. Well, Woo! Oh!
We've fought well today, my friend.
That was great. Overall, if you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more builds, let me know. I will gladly do more builds on some of my favorite characters, or maybe try to look into some builds for characters that you guys like to play. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. You guys can also check me out on all my social media right down below. If you want to catch me on Twitch playing Smite and a bunch of other games, come on over, hang out with me. I'd love to meet you guys. It's a really good time, super chill, lots of rage when I have to deal with all the sweats, but it's still a really fucking good time. So thank you guys. See you guys later.